I would stare at it in daylight, wonder. But at night, the thought of it sitting there in the dark filled me with dread, thinking that the ghost of the other Brodie, the nighttime Brodie, would steal into our house with his gang and murder us all in our sleep. As a boy, I became obsessed with Brodie's story, burned into Edinburgh's history, a prominent and respected member of Edinburgh society by day, the worst villain by night. I would have this nightmare where Brodie would be in my room. I would just and no more make out in the shadows this tall, dark figure wearing a tricorn hat. He would cross the room, the tools of his daytime trade rattling in his satchel against the pistols of his night work. He would lean down over my bed, his neck encircled by the steel band they say he wore to cheat the hangman. As he did so, I would see both Brodies as one. His smile would be courteous and benevolent, and at the same time a malicious, cruel grinning. He paused for a moment. I have it still, you know. The Brodie dresser, I mean. I brought it with me here to Skerryvore. Anyway, Brodie's tale fascinates me still, and I want to tell something of the like, something not just about good and evil, but about their coexistence in the same personality and all the shades and contrasts between them, about the dualities and conflicts within the human soul. He laughed weakly. Perhaps it's the Celt in me that leads me to such obsessions, or maybe it's because our country itself has a divided personality, that Scotland's dual sense of self echoes in its sons. Whatever its source, I'm driven to write something about the duality of man's nature. He sighed, the shrug of his narrow shoulders almost lost in his voluminous jacket. It's just that I can't seem to pin my story to its page. The larger man remained silent for a while, he too directing his gaze out to some unfixed point over the water. If you have want of such a story, he said eventually, I can tell you one. And under a bright but cheerless Bournemouth sun, Edward Hyde told his frail friend, Robert Louis Stevenson, his tale. Part 1. The Hanged Man. 2 years before. Chapter 1. It was a sound like no other. High, shrill, raw. It stabbed the night with sharp, juddering, ragged edges. It was a sound somewhere between a wail and a scream, yet it was unlike a voice, spoke of no human origin. Moonless night had already claimed the city, dragging itself round the flanks of the mound, insinuating itself through the crenels and embrasures of the castle, creeping down into the old town and stretching dark fingers into its narrow wynds and cramped closes. In the grand terraces and the crescents of the new town, it rubbed itself blackly against the prosperous panes of the broad, high windows. But as if possessed of some dark gravity, nowhere was the night blacker than where it had sunk into the depths of the gully that creased the city, carrying pure waters from the heights of the Pentlands to where they became soiled, dark and foam-crusted in the effluent shadows of the clustering mills that lined the water of Leith. When the sound found her,
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.